Today we're going to be talking about all of the things that a real estate agent does. What is that exactly? I'm Kyle Wong. Thank you again for joining on the show. This is season 2, so things have switched up a little bit. As you can tell, I'm in a little bit of a different scenery and logistical things have changed. But I've been hearing this quite a bit, actually, since from before I officially got my license. What is it that a real estate agent does? Why would you go into that? What's the point? Don't you guys just do a couple things, open some doors, and get paid really big checks? We'll talk about that. First and foremost, let's talk about the value a real estate agent does bring. What is the purpose? Why are they there? Take all the things that you know about real estate agents so far, and we'll put them to rest temporarily, and then let's compare them at the end. So, first and foremost, laws and contracts. As you may or may not know, the real estate professional that you're working with has to know quite a bit about laws and contracts and current information regarding the logistics and legal implications of your work. So buying and selling a house may seem really easy when you put it in those terms, but what does that actually mean? How do you transfer title? What does the deed look like? What does financing look like? All the little things that go into it. When you're selling a house, is there an estate? Is there a trust? Do you even know what those are? Good questions. When it comes to contracts, there are a lot of big implications when it comes to contracts. I know that's kind of a scary word. We at our Moxie team like to call it an agreement because that is what it is. But if you don't uphold your end of the agreement, that's a big deal. That could be a very big problem. So you want to make sure that you read through every single thing that you sign and make sure that you are very clear and comfortable with what it is that you're signing exactly. So, those are some big things. No, real estate agents are not lawyers. Real estate lawyers are different than real estate agents. However, it's one of those sort of gray areas, if you will, where in a certain capacity up to their knowledge, real estate agents are allowed to practice law in the confines of the restrictions they've been given. So that is a very specifically vague way to put, yes, we do things that involve law, although we cannot read or write or interpret law, if that makes sense. You lawyers out there will understand this. That makes more sense for you. That being said, did you know lawyers can charge anywhere from $200 an hour to $1,500 an hour? Now, I don't know about you, but I would love to be charging $200 an hour for my services, regardless of the outcome. However, typically, again, there's no price setting. There's none of that funny business going on. Everything's negotiable. If you work with an agent, they're helping you buy a house. If you're working with an agent helping you sell your house, you can work out how, when, and if you pay them. All of those things are negotiable in your contract, like I had mentioned before. So let me ask you this. How many lawyers allow you to pay after the work is done and with the contingency that it was successful? Because I don't know about you, but that's how I set everything up. I don't get paid until we close on a house. And it has to be according to your liking, technically according to the contract to buy and sell real estate. So take that into consideration. A lot of lawyers don't like to work for free. I don't like to either, but that's usually how it goes. Marketing. Properties get marketed in front of thousands or tens of thousands of people, or maybe millions, depending on how good you are. Everybody thinks that you take some photos of a house and you throw it on the internet. It's just as easy as making a Facebook post. Some ways, maybe. The MLS, the multiple listing service that real estate agents or specifically realtors have access to through their local MLS, does syndicate out to Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, all of those places that you like to browse. You and I both like to browse. But there's much more to that. I have seen no property should go with iPhone photos to a marketing campaign whatsoever. However, I have seen $1 million plus homes get shown through iPhone photos. Think about how ridiculous that is. At that price point, yeah, real estate agents make quite a bit of money off that deal. So the fact that you can't hire a photographer for a few $100, a few $1,000, that's silly. That's really silly. So the good ones, like myself and the members of my team, we actually market your house and make sure that it is as good as it can be, both through staging, getting it in front of the right people. Because the truth of the matter is, as you guys probably know, everybody peruses Zillow and Realtor.com and Redfin and whatever every once in a while. It's fun. The first photo or two can make or break the deal, because if you think about it, often people see a photo or two and they say, yes, I want to check it out. I'm going to click on it and look at more. Or no, I'm not looking at that. That's stupid. So that's important. Get your photos right. Get your marketing strategy in place. Are you putting it in the news? Are you doing day-night transitions? Are you doing videos? All those kinds of things. Drone shots, right? Negotiation. Business consultants. I have a couple business consultant friends. They make a lot of money. I have here in my figures well over $100 per hour, depending on experience and your particular field. But I can't remember the last time I charged by the hour, because I spend a lot of hours doing a lot of work and I don't usually charge for that. So if you would like me to, by all means. But negotiating, you just sent a few texts out. You said, hey, listing agent, would you accept this offer? Some deals are like that, admittedly. Some things go a little bit smoother than others. However, have you ever had to negotiate 2 homes contingent on the purchase of 1? Or have you ever had somebody back out on the end of a deal when you're already under contract on another deal? It's not easy. I am putting together my buyers and my sellers. I'm working with agents as intermediaries. I am working with vendors. I'm working with lenders. I'm working with a lot of different people, and everything is a negotiation. I'm sure that's been heard millions of times now, but it's true. And so there are a lot of things that can get overwhelming very fast. And I always say it's not rocket science. However, there are so many little things, so many moving parts going on that it can be tough. It can be tough. So let's go over some misconceptions. These are really fun. Like I had mentioned in the beginning, door openers. You guys just get the key, you unlock the door, and you walk people through the house. Sometimes you don't even talk to them about it. Yes, we do open doors, both literally and figuratively. And if that's not good enough for you, we do all the other things that I had mentioned, because I do think real estate agents have the capacity to open doors figuratively, because when you are going into a new home as a primary residence, as a second home, as a vacation home, or as an investment, any or all of the above, that is a big deal, because it is usually one of the biggest investments of your life. And that's no small thing. So it is important, and I wish more real estate agents would take it a little more seriously and treat it as important as it really is, but that's the reality of it. Let's go to another one. Sleazy salespeople. This is a good one. I hear this a lot. It's funny also because I was in the car industry. I was going to school for mechanical engineering and got a job working at an automotive dealership to get my foot in the door. And so I went from one sleazy position to another one. That's always fun to hear. So yeah, sleazy salespeople who just want to push people to buy houses or get more expensive houses. Well, first and foremost, as a fiduciary, legally, again, referencing those contracts that we had mentioned earlier, or agreements as I like to call them, as your fiduciary, which is the legal term for somebody who represents you and puts your best interest above their own, I actually have an obligation to you as my client, not a customer, not just somebody I do business with. You are my client. I have to look out for you. So by the law, I have to be doing so to make sure that you are buying something that is reasonable, that is within my area of expertise, and something that we can actually close on. So just buying a more expensive house because I want to get more money, which yes, the way the pay structure I usually agree to is the more expensive the home, the more money I make. And that's just a reality. However, getting people to buy more expensive homes doesn't make a lot of sense for me because I have a fiduciary responsibility to you. B, I have a moral responsibility to you. Ethically, I do not want to put you put you into something that you're uncomfortable with. I always say this: if you can't close on your home and feel like you can go out that Friday evening to celebrate with dinner, then I have done something seriously wrong. I want you to be financially comfortable and not house poor, as they say. So that's it's important to me personally, but important to me legally for the sake of my license. Let's see here. We do nothing and get big checks. From experience, I would have to respectfully disagree. There's actually quite a bit that I do, like I had mentioned before. Let me ask you this. If you are W-2'd, if you go into your job, if you are either paid hourly or salaried, even better, when's the last time you had gone and done work and not clocked in? Or when's the last time you had gone and done work and not gotten paid within 2 weeks or so? I'll let you think about that for a second, because I've done that actually. I've gone several months without a paycheck, and that kind of sucks. And so first and foremost, when we do get those big checks, sure, they're pretty big checks, you could say. They don't withhold taxes, so I have to do my taxes and accounting now, which is really fun, or I could pay somebody else to do that. So those big checks get reduced by quite a significant amount there. All the driving I have to do for doing business, and again, this isn't on you as the consumer, no big deal. This is just the cost of doing business, right? I have to pay for my software, I have to pay for the fuel to get there, I have to pay for all of the things, all the marketing that I had talked about. It does cost quite a bit to do business, but those really big checks are usually at least several months worth of work, because I don't just go in and get a check for 15 grand. I usually have a client that started out as a lead, a little tadpole, and eventually through hard work and following up and being a sleazy salesman, I go through and end up convincing them to buy a house. They purchase a home, or they go under contract to purchase a home, and depending on how long it took them to get there, could be 2 months, could be 2 years sometimes. It's at least 30 to 45 days to actually get to the closing table if we actually get there after all the marketing and negotiations that I had mentioned before. And so once we're there, then I get my big old check that gets reduced by taxes and all of my expenses. So if you are interested in doing work that is 3 months to 2 years ahead of time, you let me know how nice those really big checks are, because they're not as big as you might think. So just a couple things to consider. To maintain my real estate license, that's another big expense. Well, big depending on how much you're actually bringing in. So you can expect to pay for your courses to get licensed. Truthfully, I think the barrier to entry is relatively thin. Maybe it should be a little bit more difficult, because there are very serious implications with purchasing or selling a home. But then I also have to maintain my license, doing CE credits or continuing education credits every year, and keeping all the things current that keep me employed. I have to have errors and omissions insurance. I have to be under a brokerage, pay my dues. There are just a lot of dues, both DUEs, DUEs and DOs that I have to do. So there's a lot going on. I would love to talk with you more about it if you're curious. Forgive me if I sound a bit cynical. I've just heard this quite a bit, and I wanted to shed some light on it a little bit, because a recent talk with a lawyer during a class talking about 10 legal things, thank you, Scott Peterson, that are coming down the pipeline legally. There are apparently a lot of people, even in the upper levels of government, who think we're overpaid for what we do. I'd really like to trade positions with those people in government and see who's overpaid for what they do. So let's talk about that. Again, I am Kyle Wong. Thank you for joining me on this real estate podcast about, you guessed it, real estate. If you would like to get in touch with me, give me a call. Link down below. But thank you for joining in.